Game over. Game over. Lights out. You've just been completely obliterated publicly.
Cool.
With your you've been folded like a chair caught with your pants down.
I'm going to offer you right now, and you have 30 minutes. All you have to do is render John Lee's argument, the one you claimed that was unassailable, that has gone unanswered by any atheist. I want you to render that argument, and we'll see if any atheist objects or can falsify or can point to some problem with that argument. There's 30 minutes to do so. So it's on you right now. The ball's in your court. If you'd like to make $100, just render the argument, and we'll see if any atheist has anything to say about it.
I for the record, I have no part in this bet because I think it's too loosely defined. Like he could come up with like, oh, John Lee says that, well, I'm not even gonna say, but because I don't want to influence your bet or whatever, but he could just make something up that's like technically an argument. I don't know, or something.
Well, he's going to have to render the argument that he did previously, right? It's going to be that argument.
Oh, okay. You want a formal rendering of that argument specifically?
It doesn't even have to be. It doesn't even have to be formal. It just has to be. We have to be able to at least construct it for him in some formal fashion. He doesn't have to present it formally. It's just to give the gist of it. It's not a saleable argument, right?
That's going to be easy. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of I think there's just too much wiggle room, and you put $100 on it, and then people are going to calling people welchers and shit like that. So I would say that in order to proceed, James has to agree verbally, and you guys have to agree to the terms. Because I'm in the interest of not having that happen, that confusion, where people are calling each other liars and where's my $100? And well, I gave an argument all men are mortal, Sartre is man, therefore God. I gave an argument, something like that. I don't want that to happen. I've seen that happen way too many times.
Also, if it can't be constructed or formed into a valid forum, is it even going to count as an argument?
Well, if James presents an argument, how are we going to know that it's John's argument?
I don't think it would help if they colored it.
Yeah, because I want to have John sign off on it and say, yeah, that's my knockdown argument.
Yeah, but then John's also on the record for he doesn't make arguments for the existence of God, and then we would have one that another Christian even signed off on. Yeah, you do, and you signed off on it too. So the whole thing is just fraught with just.
I would put John in a tricky spot, right? Because either he has to agree with James and so commit to making an argument of that sort, or disagree with James and make him look down. Wow.
Give me 10 minutes. I will open a room with replays on. I will present the argument that I believe John runs, and you will have 20 minutes to address it if you have a response. Me and you for the $100. You can send me to cash after.
See, this is what I'm talking about. See what I mean? You should have just immediately agreed. Now you have to deal with this. I can see the future. See now that because the terms were not fully fleshed out, he's already got you on hook for the $100 under ambiguous circumstances. So you not doing that, even though it's obvious to anyone, what's going on? It's just now you got to deal with this shit. It's have fun.
for 30 minutes on the clock when you say start, Daniel. There's two arguments that I will present. The first one is the one that we were talking about earlier that you guys wanted the syllogism for. And then I also have a second one I can present for you as well.
Yeah.
Would you like me just to present one or just state two?
Yeah, I'd just like you to render the argument that you attempted to render previously. And as I stated, you have 30 minutes from the time that I announced. And that was maybe 15 minutes ago, right?
Okay, so what we'll do then to make it a fair answer, you get your money's worth. I'll render the argument, let any atheist who's in the audience wants to come up address it, and then we can also ask John Lee to conclude if I actually represented his argument or if I'm full of myself on that. Sound good?
Yeah, so you're going to be dictating the terms?
No,
Or
I'm
am I?
asking you. I'm making sure that this
Right.
we're agreeing before we get started.
Well, it's already started. The clock is ticking, as you well know, right?
Oh, okay, I got you. I was just trying to still give you more, but all right, let me start my end for 30 minutes. So with John, John claims to believe that God exists. So the syllogism that I threw together in my head is beliefs are not knowledge claims or claims of demonstration. John claims to believe that God exists. Therefore, John is not claiming knowledge or to be making a demonstration.
That's not valid.
Okay, so the validity is in question?
And let me try to put this in the chat too. So I just got to send it to my other phone, but Friction is here. But Daniel, you get first jabs at it because it's your money. But then Friction and everyone else can critique it.
Right. So the validity is in question. You understand that?
Yes.
So the argument is invalid, right?
Yeah, that's what he's saying. That the validity is in question. That
That's right.
that my premises are no good, so it's not even a valid argument. Much less do we get to say it's sound. That's what Friction is saying right now.
Right. And what's your rebuttal?
What's the inference rule, James?
What's your rebuttal?
I'm waiting for the reason why it's not sound. So if we look at belief, I don't see anywhere where belief is a claim to knowledge or demonstration. And I think we covered that earlier, that you can make a belief statement, but not necessarily a knowledge claim or a claim to demonstration. Is there anything wrong with that premise?
What is the inference? What is the rule of inference you're using?
Yeah, I'm just going by what I know from the terms.
Right. What is the rule of inference you're using for the argument? And is it valid? It doesn't seem to be valid.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you mean by rule of inference. All I just know is that, like, when you're putting together a syllogism, that if you want it to be sound, that the premises have to be true and also has to be valid. So it's whether or not you
Right.
guys are now claiming that you can have, or the beliefs require knowledge or demonstration. Are either of you guys claiming that?
So is this for me? I mean, I could explain why it's not valid if you want, or I don't know if you want to go with Daniel for now.
Well, I just wanted to say one thing. So the idea
Go
was
ahead, Dan.
that the argument would be presented. You claim that it has never been answered by an atheist. It's gone unanswered. So as it stands, it is now. It has been addressed and it has been answered and it has been declared an invalid argument, right?
So are we
And
defining?
you understand that disqualifies you from the
So are you?
$100, right? You understand that?
So are you saying that, from your perspective, that you can just declare something as invalid, but then when we start addressing the premises, you don't actually go through the premises?
Well, I mean, that's what it means for an inference
Because the
rule.
first premise seems completely clear to
Yeah,
me.
that's what it means
Beliefs
for.
are not knowledge claims or claims to demonstration, and you guys haven't given an objection. So what you're basically saying is that if an atheist just says I object with no grounds, that somehow that is an objection. Also, the situation was that I would present John's argument, but there was no claim or anything that it had to go through with you guys.
Oh, you thought the idea was that you could just render the argument and then I would pay you.
Yep, that's the way I took
Okay,
it.
then we'll listen to the replay.
And so far,
Wait,
so
who
far
thought
no
that?
So
What?
so
That's
far
definitely
no
not what he
James, we'll
said at
listen to
all.
the replay then.
No, you're fine. So let's go and see if anybody wants to address premise one. Beliefs are not knowledge claims
Okay.
or claims to demonstration.
So before we can address the premises, we have to first establish that the rule of inference is truth preserving, which is to say that given true premises, the conclusion necessarily follows. Right? So let's start with validity right off the bat.
I
Want
don't
to
know
do
why
that or
you're
no?
like not addressing the premise,
Okay.
because it seems like it goes through just basically, and this is also the same thing that you guys were trying to argue, saying that I didn't understand the other day. Are you now saying that you believe that belief claims require a demonstration or knowledge, Daniel?
How
And
long
if
is
you
this
don't
going to
want
go
to
on for?
challenge that,
Can I just explain why it's invalid, or do you want
Well,
to?
let's just be sure because James wants to go to
Okay.
this to soundness. He wants to skip over validity. So if that's what he wants to do, then we'll do that. But it's going to be of no help to him. He's just going to be running the clock out on himself. But you can do that,
Wait,
James.
how are you going to skip over validity and go to soundness when validity is part of soundness?
Well,
What is the
it's
well,
going
consensus
to
you
let
there?
guys
him
aren't
milk the
actually
clock.
challenging anything within the premises. Like, I've stated this over and over again,
I
and I've
wasn't going
asked
to
you guys
challenge the
to agree or
premises. I
don't
was going to
agree,
try and challenge
and
the validity.
that's fine. You're welcome to do that, and you should do that. But I just find that it's very dishonest that you guys won't say whether or not you agree with the first premise.
Okay,
I
so
agree with first premise.
without regard
So
to
Friction,
validity.
who's a philosopher, agrees with the first premise. Do you, Daniel?
Okay, just so I'm clear though that we are going to jettison validity for the moment. Is that so?
If you agree with the first premise, like Friction just did, then it is valid, and then we can go to the second premise.
What? You realize that
Yeah, that's not.
the premises aren't valid, right? That's just a category mistake.
Meaning that it works, just meaning that it goes through Friction.
Meaning that it works. Do you just mean that it's true?
So
Because that would be a kind
let me
of bad
restate the
misuse of the
argument
term
again
valid
for
here.
all the atheists in the chat. Beliefs are not knowledge claims or claims to demonstration. John claims to believe God exists. Therefore, John is not claiming knowledge or to be making a demonstration. Now, if you agree to the first
Mm-hmm.
one,
Right.
and then the second one is John is making a belief claim,
Mm-hmm.
which means that the third premise would follow. So
No, it
I don't
doesn't.
see why this is not sound,
It's
and I haven't heard like a
because it's
valid
not
response.
valid. Can I just explain it quickly now, or
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay?
let's
Yeah.
just address the validity of the argument,
Yeah.
and that
So
given
it's in.
the premises.
Yeah, it's invalid because it's possible for those premises to both be true and the conclusion false. Because he could make the belief, statement, have the belief or state that he has a belief, or however you put it. And it could be a fact, which I'm granting, that belief claims don't require a claim to knowledge or a claim to demonstration. But he could also make a claim to knowledge or a claim to demonstration. The fact that those two things are satisfied doesn't rule out that he's done the latter, and so the
So I
argument's
don't
not
think
valid in that way.
you're following, because the second part is from the statement John is making, I believe God exists.
Uh-huh.
In that premise, it follows, given the first part, which says belief, this is
No.
knowledge, and claims are not demonstration. Beliefs are not knowledge, claims, or claims of
No.
demonstration. So if you agree, then when John just walks in a room and says to you, I believe God exists, you can't then infer that he has to necessarily be making a claim of demonstration or a claim of knowledge. Do you agree?
So I agree. I agree that the fact that he makes the belief statement doesn't entail that he makes the claim to knowledge or demonstration. What I'm pointing out is that he could make the belief statement and also make a claim to knowledge or demonstration. And the point is that that's a possibility that would contradict the conclusion, even if the premises are both true. And
No,
I mean,
no,
validity is pretty strict,
it
right?
No, it follows because the third premise, or the third is the conclusion. Therefore, John is not claiming knowledge or to be making a demonstration. So if John walks
Right.
in the room, or Joe Blow, whoever, and says, I believe God exists, they're not claiming knowledge, and they're not claiming to be able to do a demonstration.
You're adding you're just adding in that he hasn't done those other things, but that's not entailed by either of the premises.
I think it follows. I think it works. I mean, you haven't given
No.
me a valid objection other
So
than John could
let's
be
suppose,
saying that I believe God exists, and could
yeah,
also be saying I can demonstrate God's existence.
right.
But this is John's argument, and John has never claimed to be able to demonstrate God's existence. He's also not said that he's making a knowledge claim. So the issue in what we were
That's
presenting
something that
was,
he says. I
is
don't think that's his
somebody,
argument.
no. The topic of the room is, let's see if atheists have a response to John's argument. What
Well, I've
does
explained
John
why it's
present?
not valid. And I
So
don't think it's
John,
John's
but
argument
this is
either.
John's argument. This isn't some fictional John who's somewhere else who's claiming knowledge or claiming demonstration friction.
Uh-huh.
This is where you're missing it and where you seem to be falling. And so
Yeah.
this argument goes through and it completely works.
Yeah, if John were to make this argument, which I don't think he does. I mean, I've never heard him make this argument.
But
If he were to, it would be an invalid argument. You need something else and he doesn't make other
John,
claims, because otherwise it's possible for the premises to be true and the conclusion false.
John, is this your argument, what you mean when you say you don't claim to believe God exists?
Well,
Well, I
he'll
actually
grant,
do claim to believe God exists. That
right?
is the belief
So
claim,
sorry,
right?
when you claim to believe God exists, you're not claiming that it's a demonstration or a claim of knowledge, though.
I'm not even claiming it's true, right?
Right.
I'm claiming to believe. I accept that it's true. I have this
Yeah.
attitude that it's true, right?
Right.
I'm not claiming
So
knowledge.
friction.
I'm not claiming a matter of fact. I'm not.
Of course.
I'm not making any of those claims.
So
Right.
friction, this random John who you're not talking to, that you're
talking about
trying
this
to
John.
introduce into the conversation, and you're trying to add all these other inferences. That's not the John that we're talking about. That's not John's argument. And you just heard him clearly when he claims to believe God exists. So this follows.
Well, listen. The
So
question being
you're
like,
confused.
if I
Hang
make
on,
if
John.
I make a belief claim, it is I believe in God. That's what I'm
Yeah,
claiming.
that's
It is
John.
either the
You
case
know
that I
John.
believe.
You know I already understand that, so I
Yeah.
don't know why you're doing this.
Yeah, but
Just to be clear, the thing that James presented remains invalid, and also I've never heard you present that argument. Yeah, it's true that the first premise is true of John, right? Or the second premise is true of John, and the first premise might be some general fact about belief claims.
Yeah,
But
but this is John's
that's
argument.
not enough for this to be an argument that he presents. When
John,
has he ever said premise one, belief claims are not claims? I've never heard him say that. Maybe he does, not when I've heard it, but
yeah, I
no
can put
friction.
it into I could put it into syllogism. But the main point is this:
but the main point is that
when I
the
say I
argument
believe
remains
in
invalid.
God, when
Yeah,
I
it's
say I believe
invalid.
hang on, when I say I believe in God, a truth claim is being made. The truth claim is
That you believe in God, right? It's
whether
true
I
that you believe
believe
in
in
God.
God or
Right.
do not believe in God, right?
Yeah, but the truth claim
Right?
of the thing believed isn't being made. You're not making a claim to knowledge of the thing believed,
No,
or a
well,
claim to demonstration of the thing
I'm
believed.
making a factual assertion, but the question is, what is the factual assertion?
You're making a
It is
factual
that I hold
assertion
a
about
belief,
your
not
belief states.
necessarily that
Yes.
the belief is true, right? Now,
Mhm.
if I made a truth claim, then I
Dude, we
am
get it,
claiming
bro. You
Yeah,
said it like
everyone
8
knows.
what I'm
times,
saying.
dude.
Everyone gets
Everyone
this.
knows
Yes,
exactly what
So,
you're talking about, man.
the
Moreover,
issue
none of
for
that's in
me is
contention.
you guys were not asking, and Daniel was not asking for a logical syllogism for me to present the argument.
Yeah, I can
No,
actually
Daniel
provide a
specifically
syllogism.
requested for an argument that John makes for the existence of God that has been so
Yeah,
far unassailable. And
but
not only
also
does this not meet the
Wait a minute.
bar,
Wait,
but
what
John is
argument for the
explicitly telling
existence
you
of
that
God?
he doesn't even make the claim that God is
Wait a
true.
minute.
So you're gonna have a
Wait.
hard time getting from John doesn't
You're
even claim that
misrepresenting
God is
Tom.
real to
there's
John makes an argument for God that is also unassailable.
and
Correct.
there's two more issues.
That's
One,
correct.
Listen.
this isn't an argument that John
You
makes, and
just
two, it's
added
invalid.
something, an argument for the existence of God that is unassailable. The discussion of arguments for the existence of God was never discussed, Tom, right? If anything, it's arguments against atheism, other arguments. But then you just added in arguments for the
No,
existence
that
of
was
particulars.
explicitly what Daniel outlined when he made the offer to James. It was everything I just
Yeah,
said.
Oh,
it was
100%
everything that
Yeah,
I.
false. That's
he
Yeah,
100%
told me
false.
to. So the way
which
that it
actually
was
doesn't
presented to
matter,
me,
right?
Daniel, from you was for me to lay out what I believe John's argument is, and then to try to defend it. So I've laid out the argument that John is that
Argument for
qualifies for
what?
God.
Just an argument? Like argument why all men
Yes,
are
Well,
that
he's
was
mortal?
it
failed.
was a
He's failed at
Very,
that though,
he
because
asked
it's
very
not an argument
specified
that
specifically.
John
what
makes,
type of
and it's not
argument.
even valid.
He
Yeah,
asked very specifically for this for me to do that. Now we
Do
also said
what?
before the thing started that we could see if John thought that I was properly representing his argument, and that was something else. But what this is
His argument
He
for
just
what?
Daniel is trying to
Tom just
add
completely moved the
other things
goalposts.
into it.
It's about as
No, I
dishonest
did
as it
Yes.
not.
gets.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. They
yeah.
moved the
James,
You
if I may
goalposts.
speak,
literally moved the goalposts to our
Typical.
John's argument for the existence
well,
of God.
if I may speak
That's
for a moment.
ridiculous, Tom.
All right, so James, I was generous enough to allow you to create a room, which was not stipulated. So you took it upon yourself to create a room. I said okay.
I sent a back
So
channel
to be fair,
message and you said okay to that. And the only thing you said on stage to
no,
add
I didn't.
was other atheists talking. You said yes on stage, Daniel.
No, sir, I did not. And when there are replays on.
Okay.
So the
So
problem is that,
what we have
okay,
is
James, you have to let me
you are
speak, though.
welching, and as long as the audience sees that, then we're good. Go ahead, Daniel.
Yeah. So now you said that you were to render John's argument, and you've done so. This is your rendering of John's argument, and you've claimed that this argument is unassailable. We've just demonstrated to you that even if both premises are true, the conclusion does not necessarily follow. Right? You understand that? That it's an invalid argument
It was for
and
John.
hence not
No,
assailable.
that's
I mean,
the
hence
problem, Daniel.
assailable.
It was for
Wait a
John.
minute.
So
What are the
the
two
argument
premises
is
and what are the conclusion, Daniel?
one quick second. I'll
As
read
far
the
as you understand.
premises real quick, John. So the issue though is that the argument was tailored to John. It wasn't just like what could the general person off the street say. You said, James, can you render what you who have talked to John Lee for a while believe that his argument is based on what you were saying in the chat earlier? And John, ever since I've known him, when he says that he believes God exists, he's not claiming knowledge and he's not claiming demonstration. So I set up the premises as this: beliefs are not knowledge claims or claims to demonstration. John claims to believe God exists. Therefore, John is not claiming knowledge or to be making a demonstration. So this was tailored to John. You guys may have put yourselves in a hole by doing that, but that was what was set up. That was what we came in to discuss.
Yeah, that's
Well,
fine.
I mean,
I just
simply
wanted to say
all
that,
knowledge claims are belief
so
claims,
that
but not all belief
just so
claims
you
are
know
knowledge
that
claims.
even if those premises are true, which I'm not going to argue, the conclusion does not follow. You understand? And that's what it means for an argument to be invalid. So this argument that you claim is unassailable has been assailed. It's an invalid argument.
Yeah, I
So
don't
just
think you've done
claiming,
a
I
good
mean, you
job
said
at
that
it.
about 4 or 5 times. You haven't demonstrated why. But first and foremost, I
I've
don't
explained it, and I
understand.
just wrote it
I
in
don't
the chat as
understand the
well.
first two
Yeah.
premises that and
Detroit,
the
can you just type?
conclusion.
Can you type it
If
out
you
in the
could give it
chat
to
just
me, I
so
could
that
tell
it's
you. I could
actually
tell you if it's valid or
I
not.
typed out the argument,
So,
which I'll
John,
repeat,
the problem
and
is,
then
and
I
here's
typed out
why
why it's invalid.
friction is
okay.
why friction failed. He came in thinking that we're talking about the general person. Could the general
What?
person make these other assertions, and does it necessarily follow? Sure, within that general scope, I could see the argument that it doesn't go through. But for John Lee, absolutely not. John Lee has never claimed to be able to demonstrate God's existence, and he's never
Okay.
came in a room saying, I
That's
have
irrelevant to
knowledge
the
that God
validity of the
So
exists.
argument.
James, I'm going to read.
That's
But the
irrelevant
argument
to the
is
validity.
tailored to
You
John Lee,
don't
So
understand
which
validity if you think that's relevant, because
All
it's
right.
not.
it is
so
So
it's not
relevant
the
because
question of
one
the
of the
premises. You're
It's
premises
saying it
not.
has
just
John
doesn't
Lee in
follow. Is
it,
that what you're saying?
Friction.
yeah. So James, if
Yeah,
you'll
it
give
has
me
his
just a moment.
name, but it says nothing about those other things that might be
Yeah.
true of him.
So if
Well,
you
I mean,
give me
Again,
a
for
the
me, it
moment,
fact
would
that
be
it
a
doesn't.
premise like
hold on,
beliefs are not claims.
hold on, John. Wait a second.
That would be
Let's
my
just read
first
out loud.
premise.
Hold on. Let's just read. Um, okay. Friction writes. Here's the problem regarding validity. It's possible that he could make the belief claim and also make the knowledge claim (parentheses) for a claim to demonstration. And this is consistent with the premises, but inconsistent with the conclusion. The argument is therefore straightforwardly invalid.
That's not the case.
The argument is assailed.
Just because John could do something doesn't mean that John does that or that that's John's argument.
Exactly.
It doesn't. It doesn't have to.
Yeah.
John could
The fact
do
that it's
any
consistent
number
means
of
the argument's invalid.
No. But
friction.
when you say someone's making a belief statement, you're saying, well, it could be a knowledge statement because knowledge is a
No, I'm not
belief,
saying. Hang
right?
on. No,
That's
wrong. I'm not saying the belief statement could be a knowledge statement.
isn't that what you
Wrong.
just
I'm saying
said?
that he could. No, I'm saying that he could also make a knowledge claim or a claim to demonstration. So
That's
someone could say, I
correct.
believe X, and then also claim that they know X or that they can demonstrate X.
the
And the
problem
fact that
is
the
that you
premises say that he
guys
believes X and belief claims are not claims to knowledge doesn't rule out that he makes a knowledge claim or a demonstration claim.
friction. The
So the
problem is that
fact
you
is that the
guys
premises can
limited
be
to John
satisfied and the
Lee.
conclusion could be false. And the fact
No,
that you say
friction.
is, well, we're
You're
talking about
absolutely wrong.
John and John doesn't do those things, irrelevant.
Yes,
Well,
The
because
fact is
John's
that
in
the
the
argument
well,
remains
I
premises
don't
invalid.
just say, hang on, Detroit. I don't just say belief claim, right? More specifically, I say faith
James,
claim, right?
you have 3
And
minutes.
Again, not relevant.
so my question to you, Detroiter, can faith claims be knowledge claims?
James,
That's the real
Again,
James, you have
question.
Yeah,
3 minutes.
again, not
James, you have
Daniel,
3
I
relevant.
minutes.
know that you're going to welch on the bet, so that's not important anymore. I've demonstrated that you guys did not have a proper response to John. The premises included John, not everybody, based on
It
how
doesn't matter
John
that they include
argues,
John.
which means that this went through, and you guys are stomping your feet because, one, you didn't make the argument wide enough to where you could criticize it. And friction, this is downright embarrassing if you don't understand that John Lee is in one of the premises.
The fact that John Lee is in one of the premises is irrelevant because
And I'm
the
definitely
premises
going to
don't
put this on YouTube.
the
So
premises don't guarantee the truth of the conclusion because, as I just like straightforwardly pointed out,
Yeah, but you're
the
not
premises
answering
are
my
consistent
question,
with the denial
Detroiter.
of the
If I'm
conclusion.
making a faith claim,
Okay,
can
you have
it
2
be a
minutes,
knowledge
James.
claim? That's the real question. You said, and it could be whatever
Defense
you said, right?
doesn't
It could.
matter, right?
So it's not a matter of belief.
Even
It's a
if
matter of what type of belief, right?
uh
It is necessarily a faith
I
claim.
think John, you're missing the point too, right? Suppose you make the faith claim. Okay, that's again not going to be a knowledge claim or a claim to
It's
demonstration.
necessarily not a
But
knowledge claim. That's my point.
so what?
So
The
And
point is
Daniel,
that
you
you
have
could.
then your
7
objection
The
minutes
that
point
it
is
left
that
of
you
the
could
could
30
make.
also
minutes
be a
that
knowledge
I
claim.
agreed to
No,
give
I'm
you.
not saying that the faith claim could also be a knowledge claim or
That's
a claim to
false.
demonstration.
That's
You're
false.
again missed.
A
I said
faith
I'm not
claims
doing that.
cannot
I'm not
also
doing
be a
that.
knowledge claim, Detroiter.
I'm not saying that they can be. Again, maybe you're not listening to when I said not. I'm not doing that. I'm saying that he could also make a knowledge claim or a claim to demonstration.
Well, are we talking
Right?
about a cell? Yeah, I could also fart, right? So it's like
Okay,
not.
there's
It's
1
not
minute,
even
The
James.
point is that
related
the point is, hang on. The point
to
is
the
that
faith claim being made,
the
right?
point is,
Yeah, I
yeah,
could
but the point
also.
is great. But the point is that the fact that you could do that is consistent with the premises and inconsistent with the conclusion. And ipso facto, the argument's invalid, right? That's the point.
Okay, so
The
I mean,
premises don't guarantee the truth of the conclusion.
well, it's very simple. Okay, um, if I have the faith that God exists, right?
Uh-huh.
That very simple statement represents a claim, specifically a faith claim. But the claim is what? The claim is that I have a belief without evidence in God to exist, right? That's what it's spelled out. That's what it means, right?
If that's how
So
you
it's
want to
not
think
it's
about
not a
faith,
claim of
sure.
having evidence for one's belief, right?
Yeah.
It's not a claim of knowledge.
I
It
agree.
is a claim of faith, right?
If
Faith
that's how you're
is
thinking
not
about faith, that's
knowledge.
correct. That's fine.
Although both faith and knowledge are subsets of belief,
Uh-huh.
they're mutually exclusive. Do you agree?
Okay, so now for the
On some use, on your use of faith, I suppose. I know a lot
Okay.
of Christians who
And
wouldn't want to say that, but
so Christianity
And,
is a
and
faith
Daniel, you have
in
but
5
God to
minutes
it's not
left.
exist,
relevant.
Me
right?
humoring this to bring whatever atheist you want to try to defeat this, but it still stands,
right.
and
I mean,
that
it's an
is
invalid
because
argument. I don't know
Yeah.
what's standing.
So I'll just read it if
I
you'll
got
allow me, James. May I? I'll just read it really quickly again. Why the argument is invalid. Okay, here's the problem regarding validity. It is possible that he could make the belief claim and also make the knowledge claim or claim to demonstration. And this is consistent.
That's not correct.
Okay,
That's not
why is
correct.
may I,
how is
A
that
James,
not
faith
correct?
claim is being
may
made,
I finish?
Daniel, right? It is not the
Uh-huh.
case that I can make a faith claim and a knowledge claim. So
Okay,
it
may I
would have
finish,
to be a
John?
separate claim. But when it comes to belief, it can be a belief and or knowledge claim
hey, John, let him.
inclusively, right? However, faith claims are exclusive to knowledge. There's a
So
difference.
so let me read the syllogism one more time, John, because he's got about 4 minutes left, and then it's done. But I'm going to read the argument one more time. And we can just say it just like this. John's belief claims are not knowledge claims or claims of demonstration. John claims to believe God exists, therefore John is not claiming knowledge or to be making a demonstration. Daniel, you're now welcome to read your failed objection. I think you got like 4 minutes left.
How is it
Thank you.
failed? The fact that he makes the belief claim doesn't rule out that he makes the knowledge claim or the claim to demonstration.
Cool.
And
Thank
so
you,
that
James.
he could
But
do those
let me
other
just
things
read it real
too. And
quick.
that okay, sure.
I'll just read it real quick. So James laid out his syllogism, and this is the response. That the argument that James claims is unassailable is invalid. And here's the problem regarding validity. It's possible that he, John, could make the belief claim and also make the knowledge claim, or a
No,
claim.
that's not possible.
All right, may I finish? Or
That's ridiculous.
well, it's
And
actually a little bit more.
note that John's proposed revision, putting in terms of faith claim rather than belief claim, still
Yeah,
wouldn't succeed in showing that
Yeah, the
giving it a
issue
valid
you guys are
argument
mentioning
because
is
he could make the faith claim and make the knowledge claim. It would be
this is John
inconsistent,
in a
but
room saying,
he
I
could be
believe
inconsistent.
God exists. Then atheists are pressing him. Are you saying that's a knowledge claim? Are you saying that's a claim of demonstration?
Well, when I say I
John
believe
all
in
right,
God,
Nobody
I
in
mean
here,
James,
not as if I have the
nobody
faith
in
in
here has
God.
done that.
James, the 30
So
minutes
that's
is
just
up.
factually incorrect.
I wanted to try and I actually did give it my
You've
best
got
attempt to.
2.5 minutes left, Daniel, on my side. If you want to welch on it, you can. That's just
Okay,
going to expose you more and the atheist deception. But
right.
2.5 minutes of the
Yeah, I
30
mean,
minutes that I agreed
what are
to
you
humor
guys gonna
this.
do with I have the faith that God exists? Pretend I'm making a knowledge claim? Seriously? That's what I'm
Nobody's done
telling
that.
you. I have the faith that God exists, and that faith claim is also a belief claim.
Uh,
What it's not a knowledge claim.
yeah, no
You
one's
guys can
saying otherwise.
pretend it
Yeah,
can be a knowledge claim. That's
Nobody has pretended
ridiculous.
that. Nobody's done that.
yeah.
There's no
Sorry.
reason. I make it very
John,
explicit that I'm not
yeah,
making a, but I could be making a knowledge claim. Is what you're
yeah.
saying? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, but the
Yeah.
point is that the fact that you're not making a knowledge claim or a claim to demonstration doesn't follow from the premises. I mean, it's true that you're not doing that, but it's not something that's logically guaranteed by those premises. That's why
Okay.
the
So I'm
argument's
going.
invalid.
Yeah. So let me just read the argument, and then we'll give the rebuttal to the argument, which demonstrates this unassailable argument is actually invalid.
So I mean, you could
Premise one:
say
belief
I
claims are
could
not.
also be making a
Whoops,
faith
John.
claim,
John.
right?
John,
Right.
please.
Or a claim of opinion,
Yeah.
John,
right?
can I
You
please?
Could be
could
all
make
kinds of things.
suppose faith and knowledge are mutually exclusive.
Okay.
You could, of course, even then make the faith claim and the knowledge claim. You'd
It
be
could
saying
even
something
be
inconsistent, but
a
that's something.
statement of opinion, right?
Right.
And not necessarily truth nor fact.
Anyway, I'll let Daniel go. Let Daniel go.
Yeah, I'll just be brief. And thank you, James, for letting me speak. I'll just finish real quick. So this is the argument that is James rendered on behalf of John Lee, and he claimed that it was unassailable and no atheist has been able to respond to it. He was given 30 minutes to render the argument, whereupon atheists would be able to object to it. And the objection is that the argument is invalid. So the argument is as follows. Premise 1, belief claims are not claims to knowledge or demonstration of the thing believed. Premise 2, John makes the belief claim that he believes that God exists. Conclusion, John does not make a claim to knowledge or demonstration that God exists. And this is the atheist rebuttal to the argument, which
Not
demonstrates.
necessarily would be a better
Okay, John, you'll have
characterization.
to stop because you've interrupted, I think, 4
Yeah, but
times.
that would be a revision to the to
Okay,
the argument.
so here's the rebuttal, which demonstrates that the argument is indeed invalid. Okay, this is the
That
problem with the validity.
was
It's
30
possible
minutes,
that he could
Daniel.
make the belief claim and
Daniel,
also make the.
that was 30
Okay,
minutes that I agreed to. You can decide whether or not you actually honor the bet. I'm going to put this on YouTube, just this video like this, with you agreeing in the beginning. It'll show atheist dishonesty. I'm going to make sure that friction is highlighted in it so that people can show his deception within the argument too. I don't know why he decided to do that, and we can just leave it at there. You
Well,
guys are welcome to closing
okay.
thoughts, and then I'm going to end the room.
yeah, I
Well,
mean,
have a good night.
yeah, I mean, I think the real dishonesty is in Tom when he totally revised John's argument to John's argument for the existence of God. I think that's completely moving the goalposts, and I don't think anyone. You could check the recording of the other room and this room. At no point was it implied or stated that I make arguments for the existence of God, and that these arguments for the existence of God are irrefutable. It's ridiculous. That's the real dishonesty, in my opinion.
Friction, because you're going to be highlighted in the video, and other people who are philosophers may see this. Maybe you can give reasons why you rejected that John Lee was in the premise, and given that John Lee is not the same as every person. So go ahead, your closing thoughts.
Well, of course, John Lee's name was in the premises. That's fine. I don't see how that makes any difference to the validity of the argument. If you want to point out that John Lee also does some other things and doesn't do other things, and it follows from those things that he doesn't make these knowledge claims or demonstration claims, that might be true, but it doesn't rescue the validity of the argument. After all, it's consistent with the premises, even if not consistent with other facts about John, that he makes a knowledge claim or claim to demonstration. And that's all that's required for the argument to be invalid. And the thought or failure to see that this is the case, I think it's just a failure to really understand what validity requires. This argument doesn't have it.
Yep. Anyone else have any closing thoughts before I remove people from the stage and do a wrap up?
Yeah, John. James. Sorry, James. Do you think that argument is valid?
The argument is actually not only valid, it's sound. The guys didn't object to any of the premises, and part of the premise was to present John Lee's argument. What does John Lee say? So all the data set that you have is not what John Lee could randomly do, like something random like jump off a roof. It was what does John Lee say in these arguments. And so the premises follow, everything is there, and therefore the argument is sound. And instead of actually interacting with the argument, they didn't want to do that. They wanted to try to smuggle in this fictional John Lee or possibilities that other people might say this and might say the other thing at the same time. But the issue, though, is in philosophy, a claim of belief is not directly a claim of demonstration or a claim of knowledge. And I just find this whole situation very humorous.
Well, I mean, I
James, can you?
explicitly the funny part about it, James, is when I say I believe in God, they're the ones telling me, "Oh, I mean, like certain atheists, they say, "Oh, you're a Gnostic theist, right? You're making a claim of knowledge, right?" And if I would tell them no, right, that beliefs are not necessarily knowledge, even though all knowledge is necessarily a belief, they seem to be not comprehending what I'm saying, that I'm simply and explicitly not making a knowledge claim. And what all the Torah is saying, belief claims can also be a knowledge claim, even though I explicitly tell them I'm not making
I
one.
never said that once, by the way.
I'm just
I never
saying
said
that
that once.
I explicitly say that I'm not
He,
making a knowledge
he's
claim.
saying
So
something
there,
much
it would be
worse, John.
disingenuous to say that I may be.
He's saying something much worse, John. He's trying to manipulate the way people are seeing this to say that you could also simultaneously make a knowledge claim. Well, you could also simultaneously be jumping off the roof, John. But when you're saying I believe, that those words have meaning, and you can't abuse them philosophically like what was done on the stage.
There's no abuse there by me. The fact is that him doing those other things is consistent with the premises. The fact that he doesn't do them is irrelevant, for the argument's still invalid.
James, just for me, can you just give me the definition of validity?
So I'm getting ready to end it. That was your time, John. Look, I've already Jovan. I've already like answered this like several times today, and just because of the way this stage has went, I'm not going to be addressing this anymore.
That's
I even
fine.
addressed
Well,
this on
James,
this
that's
stage
fine.
as well. So I think Tom and Jack have not had a chance. If they would like to add something, they can. But then the room will be ended after I do a closing.
Oh, I predicted basically exactly how this would all play out.
You did.
Did Jack have anything?
You did predict it because you admitted that Daniel made it way too narrow and way too easy for me to complete. And so that is also evidence against Daniel claiming he made it harder. But we'll let the viewers decide. Jack, do you have any thoughts?
No, thank you.
Alrighty, I'll move people from stage and then do a wrap up. Alrighty, so this room has been a challenge that was given that if I could, to the best of my ability, render what I believe John Lee's argument is, and then they would interact with it, and they would critique it, they would criticize it. There was no requirement that it had to go through, but as you saw that it did go through, which was a pleasant surprise, because I thought maybe with friction on stage that they might have something they could do without ignoring the premise of John Lee being in it. But so we'll put a wrap on it. Atheists are sometimes dishonest. Not all atheists, but in this case, Daniel was dishonest.